Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, April 4th. And before we dive into the things, Kenny, Payton, we have the band back together. It's the three of us together again. I feel like we have been missing a bunch of shows where it's been a combination of the two of us. I think we need to take a moment, appreciate getting the trio back together. And Kenny didn't wear red. Me and Payton have a color theme going. No red for Kenny. That was not.
Shout out the Columbia Raising Canes. I was one of the first 100 customers. I was definitely there. No one got the shirt for me.
No free ads.
I was there. He's lying.
Kenny got the shirt.
Don't believe him.
Don't believe him.
Taking my thunder.
Yes, very excited. I know I was absent for a while in the month of March, but thus is part of the program. But we're back, and we're back to talk more Mizzou transfer portal stuff. We got some football stuff as well. And we're going to get into it. So way we kind of segmented this one out. We're going to start in the backcourt with a couple other names to know, and then we've got specifically one man in the front court to talk about that I'm sure people are kind of eagerly awaiting when his name entered the transfer portal. Payton's going to give his take on him. It's Jayden Quaintance. I don't know why I'm not just saying it, but let's start in the backcourt, fellas, because we have had some movement. Specifically today, when we're recording this on Thursday, Kamari Peterson, the East Tennessee State guard, he found a new home, and it was not Mizzou. He was one we talked about on a couple shows. He ended up at Washington, and then Nick Graves, another guy who we had seen rumored to Mizzou, ended up at Creighton. So that's a pair of guards off the board elsewhere. Obviously tough, especially, I liked Peterson. I didn't know as much about Graves. Peterson is unfortunate, but, ends up at Washington. It is what it is. That said, we have some other names already kind of popping up, and I want to run you guys through a few of them, and you guys can just give your thoughts at will. So I've got four. We've got four on our big board, and we'll talk about it. One of them is on the screen right now if you're watching on the YouTube. It's Kyan Evans, the Colorado State guard from Staley High School in Kansas City. Payton, do you have familiarity with Staley? Did you play against them?
Oh, yes. Very familiar with the Falcons. Another Northland school in Kansas City. Very, very nice area. Very nice school.
Okay.
Wasn't too big a fan of them. They knocked the Park Hill South Panthers out of the state playoffs 2 games short of state my sophomore year down in high school. So that was football. They always kick the crap out of us in basketball.
Okay.
Yes, very, very familiar with Staley.
Yeah, so it's probably because they produce guys like Kyan Evans. So Kyan Evans, like a 10-point per game scorer, shot almost 45% from 3 at Colorado State. He's one we've seen. Sebastian Mack, who I know you two talked last show about out of UCLA, about 10 points per game. There, another one, more of a guard wing type that I'll throw in there. Kennard Davis, another Missouri product. I know Kenny's got some stuff he could say about him. Out of, is it Vashon, Kenny, in St. Louis? Is that how you say it? Vashon. Sorry. Vashon scored about 16 points per game, 37% three-point shooter at Southern Illinois last year. And then a guy I hadn't heard of, but I watched his film, Terrence Ginyard, I believe is how you say his last name, was also about a 16-point per game scorer over at UT Martin. Shout out Jacob Cruz, everyone's favorite member of the Missouri Tigers. So 4 kind of guards there, fellas. A couple guys, or one guy, at least in Mac, you've talked about before. What are your thoughts? I'll open the floodgates. Personally, I'll throw my 2 cents in there. My favorite of the quad would be Evans. I really liked what popped on tape, and I can add more. But what do you like about these 4? Do you sense a theme between any of them maybe that Mizzou's looking at? And just y'all's thoughts on them being linked to some of these guys in the portal here.
Yeah, Peterson's kind of a tough one because he was the one that I think had the most buzz early on. so it's always tough to kind of lose out on that first target that you like kind of see, but there's been a lot of buzz around Kyan Evans lately. And I agree with you, Knowlton. He's definitely the one I would want the most, because I've said over and over, this team constantly needs, the way they play basketball, they need good shooters year in and year out. If they don't have good shooters, they will not win ball games. Here's a guy that played in a great conference, I'm not going to say it's underrated anymore. I think everyone knows how good the Mountain West has really kind of been in recent years. Say what you will about how they've been in the tournament. That's a gauntlet of a conference. So Evans has experience there. He's got multiple years of eligibility left. Really good assist to turnover numbers. Does not turn the ball over too often, and does have a decent assist rate. So maybe he's not near as big as Tony Perkins, but he's someone that would maybe, I would think, like kind of take Perkins' spot in the lineup, not play anywhere similar to him. I don't think that's the case, but it would maybe be a different look when he's out on the floor. But I definitely agree with you, Knowlton. Definitely like a lot about Evans. I like Mac as well. Mac is a guard that played. He started 30 games his freshman year in the Pac-12. Obviously, last year did not start for UCLA, but still played in pretty much every game. The shooting numbers aren't as good. You'd like to maybe see an uptick. I mean, it could maybe with Dennis Gates. We've seen Dennis kind of give guys bumps in shooting percentage before. Bates was a guy that shot decent at Indiana, but really took his game to another level in Dennis Gates' system. I think Sean East in year 2 had a similar kind of thing happen with him. So maybe you could bank on that with Mac, but those two definitely interest me. I like Davis just because he's, like you kind of mentioned, more of a wing. You wouldn't really have him just be a straight guard. I think he could kind of give you reinforcements on the wing, because that's kind of a thin spot for Missouri right now. I know Kenny actually heard more about Davis. I know that Texas is also after him, Iowa State, but Kenny, what else have you heard on Kennard Davis?
Yeah, I'll throw out the facts I just got about him right after this part. But you mentioned some of those teams. Every time you search his name on social media, Purdue is attached. Like every time. Like I think when I searched his name, when I was looking at the teams that were interested, Purdue fans were all over him. Purdue fans were in comment sections saying, "Why isn't Purdue mentioned here?" Like, so it just seems like the Boilermakers really think they got their guy in Kennard Davis. But I did talk to Jimmy McKinney, the former Missouri guard, who's over at Vashon now as the head coach. That's my Siri talking to me at the same time. I guess she wanted to hear about Vashon, but he was an assistant when Kennard was there. But this is kind of like a thing that I keep hearing just about Vashon guys, is that they are just elite defenders. There's just something within that program that they just really talked about, that he brings a lot of defensive gain to that kind of wing position, but he also can just score at the rim. And I think that's just like a big thing too. It's just like that combination would be pretty big. And he played with Nicholas Randall, who's a 2025 signee for Missouri basketball. That's some good overlap. You know, if the Tigers do kind of make a push for Kennard and bring him in, I think that's just an advantage to have a younger guy right behind someone that he played with for a couple of years in high school.
Yeah, I liked Davis. I liked his kind of 3-level. I tried to watch a little bit of highlights of all these guys. I had known about Evans before. And Payton, I think you're spot on with a bunch of the things you pointed out. Kenny, I like the upside defensively. It makes sense. I mean, he's longer. He seems like he can guard kind of multiple positions. That is something that it feels like Mizzou has lacked a little bit. I think Payton, like you got to that a little bit, is like some of that length, especially defensively. You know, that is something that Tony Perkins couldn't really give you. That's something that a Sean East couldn't really give you. Anthony Robinson does that. I will say, you know, like at 6'3", I think he can guard bigger guards, but it would be nice to have sort of that, you know, kind of like Tamar Bates build, like a 6'5", sort of taller guy who can maybe switch a little bit, who can shoot it. Payton, I think you're right though. Like the priority's got to be shooting. The one I know you didn't mention is Ginyard. I wasn't a super big fan of his highlight package. He's a tough bucket maker. I will say that he gets to the rim a lot. He's a good rebounder, you know, kind of a smart player. The 3-point shot's just not there for me. I would be a little weary on that one. And I think Payton is just turned off by all UT Martin products now.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at my good old handy dandy Torvik. First of all, he obviously last year UT Martin had two guys that went from UT Martin to SEC level. It was Jordan Sears and Jacob Cruz. I don't know how Sears was. I think he was okay, but LSU is obviously a mess. And we know what Jacob Cruz was. People can talk about the second half turnaround all they want. I think it was a lot more bad than good. And both of those guys, according to Torvik, were significantly better than Ginyard was. Knowlton, what's the one stat I always hate to see a high number of on Torvik? Do you remember?
Usage.
Yep, I hate really high usage rates, and that is exactly what Ginyard had there. Usage rate of 27.3. I'll give him credit. He doesn't turn the ball over much. He does get a decent amount of steals, so I can see where this appeal comes from for Dennis Gates. Even gets to the line a decent amount, but like you said, 3-point shot is not there, 31%. Maybe it could get a bump, but I don't know. He's a junior, so kind of banking on a late bloomer. Not great effective field goal percentage, not a great true shooting percentage, pretty pedestrian rebound rates. That's just not one that really interests me.
Can I throw out the theme that I noticed when I watched the highlights of all four of these guys and was just like trying to make trends is like the thing kind of pointed out all of them can kind of play in transition, which to me underscores kind of a theme that Dennis is looking for. To me, I think when it's interesting though, when we look at the kind of top two, it seems like on our list in Mack and Evans, you've got Evans, who's more of this kind of like fluid, can play in the half court, kind of pure shooter, I think, and that's probably what he would be if you stuck him next to Anthony Robinson and Bates. And then you have Mack, who I think Payton, I could see fluctuating on him throughout the season because there's like his game is so like, I mean, he kind of reminds me of a bowling ball. He's a really big guard. He seems like he goes 100 miles an hour right at the rim every time. But like when he gets there, he has this like really nice, he had one layup that I'm surprised I hadn't seen when I was watching the highlights before. Like it was an up and under, like around a defender. It was crazy. But then he has like some shots I saw when it was like the highlights were doing the downside of him. And it was like a couple air balls, bad misses, from like mid range and stuff. So he seems to have like kind of a roller coaster of a game where I feel like Evans is like kind of a more fluid, maybe higher floor player, but Mack kind of has that ceiling and he also seems big. He looks like he's pretty good defensively. But those are just a couple other themes I picked up. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think both of them could be good. I wonder, if I feel like if they get a guy like Mack, who isn't as good of a shooter, they're going to try and pair him with someone who just, purely tries to hit jumpers. That I feel like could be the outlook there. Kenny, you got other thoughts on this quadrant of guards?
I'll just throw in there just something too about that transition that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Just high school wise too, looking at that class, one of the big things Aaron Rowe brought up to me once is that when they were kind of scouting him and looking at him, one of the pluses they liked was how quick he was in transition. And some people kind of point out that he is a smaller guard, doesn't really fit that mold that maybe Dennis has gone after in recent years to be kind of in that starting five of the future. But I think that is something that they're kind of looking at for the next couple of years. And if you get an older guy that's really strong in transition, then you have a freshman right behind him that's kind of in that same category. I think that also is a plus. I want to just talk about visits real quick too and Zooms. It's kind of funny that I feel like Zoom is just getting a free ad from all of these. It could be any type of video call, but it's a Zoom. But Kyan Evans did have a Zoom. I got that confirmed with Missouri. And then a guy like Nick Graves was actually going to have a visit scheduled. He was going to show up on campus until he committed to Creighton. The funny thing too with Kamari Peterson, I reached out to his agency earlier today, and I was just curious because there was a lot of connections with Mizzou, and I was like, hey, is there like any movement there with getting up on a visit? And I just got a thumbs down. So
there you go.
That's what just kind of happened, and just nothing moved from there.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to something you said, and maybe this is a dumb rabbit hole, but does Dennis have like a type in a backcourt? I feel like he's worked with like
every coach does.
I mean, but what do you think his type is? Because I feel like he's worked with like bigger guards, but he's also worked with guys like Nick Honor and Sean East who were, smaller and did different things. I don't know. I feel like Maybe the type is just guys.
I
Who can
think
run in
he
transition.
really likes guys that do not turn the ball over. I feel
Yeah.
like that's been a pretty consistent one. Perkins at times would turn the ball over, but his turnover rate, I know it maybe felt high comparatively to other Mizzou guards, but it really was not. It was a pretty average amount of times he turned the ball over. I think he likes guys that can poke at the ball. I don't think there's a specific, like you said. I mean, he kind of goes back and forth on the size.
Yeah, there's not like a build, is what I was like kind of.
Yeah, there's not like a true build or anything. I do kind of prefer more Tony Perkins types that are just kind of bigger, can kind of create their own shot if they really need to. But I'm definitely not if you can shoot it like someone like Evans can, not opposed to getting a guard that's maybe a bit smaller.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Evans is like you said, the Mountain West is a proven league, so I don't worry about anything necessarily transitioning there. I don't know. It's funny when you get into personal preference too, because I like longer guards who can like rebound and like defend instead. But the stocky like guys who can shot create are also great. I don't know. We're getting in a wormhole of guards, but there's some guys to watch and keep an eye on, and then. Not to detract too often from maybe the biggest name in the portal in the last kind of 48 hours, I guess, here for Mizzou or linked to Mizzou. Oh, one more thing on Evans. When I was looking his name up, Kenny, you mentioned Purdue. Evans, when I was just scrolling through Twitter quick, was like Minnesota everything. All of the Minnesota people like hot
that
board.
makes so much sense considering Medved.
Yeah,
just
Medved went over
and
there.
everything.
Yeah, so that's an important thing to watch too. Is his coach went over there. And the other thing I'll throw out, he worked with Nikkei Clifford, who is like the player of the year in the Mountain West, similar build to Mark Mitchell. They had some good like 1-2 stuff that interested me. They have a
pick and roll action.
Yeah, just like I thought that was interesting. But anyway, I am distracting enough because the biggest name I think in the portal physically and name recognition wise for Mizzou fans was Jayden Quaintance. You moved to the front court. The Arizona State big, of course, had Mizzou right up there in his recruitment. Former 5-star recruit, had a good season. I mean, he played 24 games, about 9.5 points, almost 8 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks per game. Played 24 games. He started all of them. Payton, I'm just going to let you have the floor here because I know you have the strongest kind of opinion on this, and you have been following this Jayden Quaintance saga. What are your thoughts? Because I know there is some interesting off-the-court stuff with him, but obviously the numbers speak for themselves. We saw Mizzou benefit from having a guy who could rebound and a big. He's obviously a lot more skilled than a guy like Josh Gray. Quaintance, your takeaway that with him entering the portal too. He's not teasing entering the portal. We had to figure that out, which was something. But yeah, Payton, Kenny, weigh in as well.
With Quaintance, I mean, look, I totally get like the red flags that are there. For one, he had to have surgery, I believe, on his knee, and his father said he expects him to be cleared for contact by September. That is obviously a pretty big risk in itself. Yep. You don't know how someone is going to bounce back off a pretty big injury like that. That is, especially with how guys like, Michael Porter Jr., his injury saga, or Isaiah Mosley wasn't an injury, but just the will he, won't he play. I think Mizzou fans probably don't want to have that kind of thing just hovering over the team's head. And obviously, if you followed not just the high school recruitment, but the once he decommitted from Kentucky after Cal left saga, you'll know it's a bit of a circus recruitment with him. Arizona State won just one of the most absurd recruiting battles ever. Missouri, both times, I believe, was in on it. They were considered the favorite the first go around for a good number of times. I mean, we talked about it on this show a few times. He was supposed to be like that last Infinity Stone in that recruiting class, but he did not do that. Now he has a chance to right that wrong. I think, like you said, Knowlton, this would easily be the most skilled 5 they've had. Like under Dennis Gates, he'd be a true 5 for them. Look, I like I've said it 100 times. I like a lot of what Josh Gray did, but he absolutely drew no attention on offense. And a lot of times it felt like it was only Mark Mitchell as a true threat down in the paint, and people would swarm him, get him to turn the ball over, force him into kind of forced shots that wouldn't go in. If Quaintance comes in there, I mean, he's not an offensive weapon. Let me just say, he's not like he's not like Hakeem Olajuwon or anything. He's not just someone who's going to win every single battle in the post, but he is a threat. I mean, as a freshman, he averaged 9 points a game in the SEC in the Big 12. And that's before you even get into the real gem of his game, which is his defense. I mean, he pulled in 8 rebounds. He's not like a super tall center, by the way. He's 6'9", 230. I mean, like, he's big. He's going to be a true 5 if he were to be at Mizzou, but he's not like a huge imposing guy, and still pulled in 8 boards a game, blocked 3 shots. His block rate on Torvik is absurd. I mean, it is like the most vibrant green you could ever find for a box. I mean, he's enough of an offensive threat to where he draws some attention. It clears up a bit more space for Mitchell to operate. I think you're looking at a potential. I mean, playing next to Mitchell is going to benefit both him and I think Quaintance, because most sites, a lot of places have Quaintance as a lottery pick next year. So that in itself, Mizzou could get a lottery pick if they go after Quaintance. That is a huge thing in itself, but I think he could benefit playing next to Mark Mitchell. I think he shot too many 3-pointers this past year, but I think he'd probably live with that a little bit. Yeah, the 18% is a pretty ugly mark, but I think you live with that a little bit for a guy that, as a freshman, before getting injured, was all Big 12 freshman team and all Big 12 defensive team. I think I understand the red flags. I understand why people would maybe be turned off by him. I think he's way too we're talking about a guy that's probably going to be a lottery pick. I think, like, if Missouri has an opportunity here to go after him, this is just us speculating, by the way. There's literally zero out there about where he's going, where he's been connected to. But I think Missouri has to take that chance. Yeah.
Then comes the price tag. We have no idea how much he's going to cost, but the assumption is it is going to be the most expensive. I think it's fair to say, I've seen some people say, some really like smart basketball analysts saying that this is probably the most talented guy to ever enter the portal, because the basketball portal, just NCAA transfer portal for college basketball, I mean, in the more recent years has seen a lot more guys just with the changing of the rules, but seeing a guy like this with just so much upside and just so much he brings to that 5 position or the 4, he's going to cost a lot of money. And I don't, we have no idea what that number will be. We have no idea what the pool looks like for Mizzou basketball, what it looks like compared to last year. So that's really just going to be the interesting thing about who's going to pony up and pay for him. Because like Payton said, there is that slight risk. There is a slight risk with the knee injury. How is he going to get up to speed within a month and a half, 2 months, right after he's able to hit contact? So that's where it really kind of comes in. And people need to know that timetable exactly before they start throwing bags at him.
Yeah, that's my big thing too. Is I just wonder if it's a priced out situation for all but some of the elite that are willing to pony up, because the numbers for bigs specifically is ludicrous, because that position is just really hard to acquire, because you can't really do it at the high school level and get an elite big. You have to go to the portal to do that, and yeah, it's just a lot of money. That's the reality of it. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting if Mizzou gets in another saga. There's certainly no reason to suggest why they wouldn't, given where things were at when he was a recruit, but a lot changes in that regard too. And obviously, the injury stuff will be interesting to watch. I don't think anyone wants another saga, but I think Payton's right. The numbers, the productions, the draft potential, all of that stuff speaks for itself. And yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with Quaintance. Kenny, I'll kick it to you. Any last portal updates? I know you had some other guys that went elsewhere. Any other people in the portal for Mizzou that you want to hit on?
Yeah, there's 2 more guys that were linked. I don't know if you guys want to throw anything out there, but Amari Dickerson, guard forward from Robert Morris. I know you got to see him in person.
I was going to say, I'll throw 2 cents in there. He's good. He's very good. He played in the NCAA tournament.
One more guy before you get to that one, but Corey Washington, Wichita State forward, also a guy Mizzou got linked to today. Mizzou reached out to him. He was on St. Peter's the 2 years before that, but he wasn't on the St. Peter's team that made the run in the NCAA tournament. But go ahead with Dickerson.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Marion Dickerson. Yes, I did watch him play against Alabama for Robert Morris. He's a good player. He plays a lot, like those 6 rebounds a game. He can absolutely get like that much or more than that. He's a guy who plays bigger than he is. Again, he fits the build of like kind of wings that I like. I like longer, taller, athletic guys, and that he very much is that. Could truly play multiple positions, handles the ball well. Scores at the rim. He's an all right 3-point shooter. I can't remember what his percentages were. He looked all right in the game I watched him in anyway. But yeah, he's a talented player. Is it not good? What does it even say? I can't read that.
It says 29%.
Oh, that's not good. All right, throw that out the window. So he doesn't really have the shooting stuff, but he's long, he's athletic, he can score at the rim. I think he'd have no problem handling Power 5 competition. He probably wouldn't be at the top of my list, but yeah, he's a good player. I think he was the defensive player of the year in the Horizon League with Robert Morris. So, he shows also you got to be versatile if you're going to be kind of a wing to win an award like that. So yeah, probably would be more of a defensive ad from what I've watched him, but he's a good player and he has tournament experience. So there you go. Nearly knocked off a 2 seed.
One last thing, just portal wise, throwing out some of those names that were connected to Mizzou that are going elsewhere. Adrian Woolley, who is a guard from Kennesaw State, is heading to Louisville. Jalen Jackson, a guy Payton and I talked about very briefly. He was a guard at Fort Wayne. He's headed to Butler, so staying in the state of Indiana. Marcus Adams, who kind of had a crazy recruitment, one that just like featured a lot of different teams. He's going to stay out west with Arizona State. Jayden Young, who was a sophomore guard at Virginia Tech, is going to High Point, so a tournament team for him. Nick Davidson was a guy that we liked, and he had a lot of teams coming after him, but it didn't even seem like Mizzou cracked into that top 5 near the end. According to his agency, the Nevada product is going to Clemson. So those are just
Good
the guys
for Clemson. Shout out.
Yeah. So those are some of the guys that Mizzou is connected to that are heading elsewhere.
Will Wade. He's gonna be a monster on the trail now that all that's legal. Yeah,
he didn't go to NC State.
Oh, you're right. He didn't go to Clemson. Never mind. Sorry, Brad Brownell. I disrespected you. That's right. Good get for Brad Brownell. My bad. We'll cut that. No, we won't. Yeah, there's portal talk. This is obviously, we're throwing out names. We'll see who Mizzou kind of gets hot with here in the next couple of weeks and days. It obviously goes by pretty fast. Portal open until April 22nd. So, and there will be some stuff beyond that, I'm sure, with them pursuing guys who are still in it. Corey Washington, too, teammate of Ronnie DeGray. So, you can trust him. Throw that out with him. Couple of quick football things before we go to quick hits. Kenny, I don't know if I should just throw this to you. We've got some recruiting stuff. Kenny is our residential recruiting expert. You can find him on Mizzou Today. Great work he does. Mizzou, at the time you're listening to this, should have a commitment. Should they? Shouldn't they? DeMonte Timms, the safety out of Florida, appears to be the next Mizzou commitment. Kenny, I'll just throw that to you. I know you have a future cast in for him. Still plenty of stuff going on in the football recruiting trail. What can you tell us about DeMonte Timms and his links, at least, to Mizzou?
Yeah, it sounded like he was going to commit on his first visit to Missouri at the beginning of this week. He was scheduled to come in on Tuesday. I put that future cast in back last Friday, so a week ago from when this episode comes out. And, he just sounded like, he was ready. He loves Coach Yoro. I don't think I mentioned it on the show before. I told Payton about it. He's a big Drayden Norwood fan. I asked him about it. It didn't come up during his visit. But it was just interesting. Like, he just loves watching Drayden Norwood play. And DeMonte Timms is a safety. He's not a corner, but they like him at that star position. And, he's going to announce his commitment tonight, recording here on Thursday. And the plan was to do it Wednesday, but just graphics weren't ready. Everything that, he was kind of, it's their moment. It's a player's moment. It just wasn't ready to go out on Wednesday night and kind of just kept getting delayed. And it got delayed until now. So Expected to announce it here on Thursday. It will be the Tigers' second commitment. The other one is Anthony Kennedy Jr., who's exploring other options too. I know people will say like, "Oh, that's not committed." If free trips are free trips at the end of the day. I mean, these kids will get to go across the country on OVs for free. I think that's a plus. You never know what their family, life is like and how many opportunities they get to see different parts of the country. So it's always just an advantage. But he loves Coach Al Davis. He brought his entire family with him on his last visit, aunts, uncles, cousins, dad, brothers. I mean, it was everyone. It was just a loaded event. And, even though he's looking at other places, I mean, Mizzou feels comfortable with him. And, it's just how it kind of goes just in recruiting anyways. But DeMonte Timms, kind of a big bodied safety, 6'1", 195. They like him at that star position. Drinkwitz talked with him about it. Big fan of Jacob Yoro. And he seems to, it sounds like, it's an early one. I really felt like this cycle, Mizzou was really just going to land a lot more of their guys during the summer. And they're not really going to go deep in a recruiting class, it seems. This is a program that loves to retool in the transfer portal. And so, not seeing a bunch of commits right now isn't a big issue, but he's doing his own recruiting. This morning, I woke up to him tweeting at Jackson Cantwell. So he's already kind of making work, and he hasn't even officially announced his commitment to Mizzou as of the time we're recording this.
There you go.
Yeah.
Needed a timeline update with that one. Yeah, you're seeing a lot more summer hauls for a lot of these teams. It just seems like guys are waiting maybe for the OV period, which we'll have plenty of coverage of. I know Kenny we can speak on more of that at as we go on here. But yeah, possible second pledge for Mizzou. And then in the other direction, Payton, your thoughts I want your thoughts on this, because you expressed some to us off air, and I thought it was interesting. The other news, of course, Drew Pyne, the famed Drew Pyne, who guided Mizzou in that Oklahoma game. He's in the portal. He's gonna transfer. Obviously joined Mizzou last season, had to play a little bit with Brady Cook's injury stuff, threw 3 touchdowns, 391 yards. Payton, what do you make of this and how it is maybe impacting, you think, the quarterback situation heading into next year? Because I know you had you kind of a take on that.
Well, I didn't really think there was a chance Drew Pyne was going to be anything other than QB3 regardless, but I'm kind of glad that, to me, Drew Pyne leaving kind of at least indicates that the QB quote-unquote battle, I think it's probably at least somewhat of a battle between Horn and Pribula. At least the coaching staff probably feels comfortable enough with those guys as 1 and 2 to where Drew Pyne was no longer kind of necessary like he was last year. Which Drew Pyne the best? I'll be honest, 80% of his snaps were pretty terrible. But my God, those 20% were all against Oklahoma. And I'm glad that Drew Pyne gets to depart Mizzou with the Oklahoma game, just that fourth quarter in general where he legit played lights out football. I'm glad that gets to be his legacy and not being so bad that most people went from disliking Brady Cook to hearing like they just won the Super Bowl when Brady Cook came back onto the field against Auburn. And then, of course, the Alabama game. I'm glad Drew Pyne will get more remembered for the Oklahoma game.
Kenny, anything on Mr. Pyne?
Not necessarily. This is probably one of a couple more moves that you can expect. I did the math. It is a lot of just counting names over and over, but Mizzou is currently at 105 players. That is the roster limit. Next season, there's really no such thing as a walk-on kind of moving forward. Guys can still kind of walk on the team and not earn a scholarship, but there's a roster cap of 105 guys, and all 105 are eligible for scholarships. And Mizzou's still looking at other guys. I got a tip that Mizzou hosted a punter, John Butcher from Grossmont Community College. It's a JUCO in El
Did
Cajon,
you make
California.
this page?
I did. I made it for him.
Okay. I was going to say, no way he's got one.
Yeah, so he's originally from Australia, right-footed punter. They hosted him on Wednesday. At the same day, they hosted DeMonte Timms. So just another kind of punter in the equation. They've offered some wide receivers, some defensive backs. One of those wide receivers, Division II guy in Cameron Abshire, who's 6'4", like 185 pounds, and kind of can take the top off. And when you look at the roster, there's only a couple of guys that are really, pushing over 6 foot. You don't really have a Theo Weiss size guy other than maybe Josh Manning. That probably has like that big body or just height to him. So, you're not going to expect the world of a Division II transfer. The whole like Cody Schrader thing is, not something that's always going to happen, but, bringing in a guy that just has that size.
Always at Mizzou, it's going to happen.
But bringing in a guy with Abshire's size is maybe just a positive. He told me he's going to visit April 17th, Oklahoma on April 7th, or Oklahoma State April 7th, and Colorado on April 9th. And more offers have come in. He's got Arkansas, Kentucky, so it's legitimate. I mean, there's multiple SEC teams in there, so don't get like too discouraged about it. But that's kind of the case with John Butcher. I know Payton knows this because he read it because I sent him it. He punted 79 times last year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, across months. So the numbers, I think he averaged 39 yards a punt. Not great. The number that you really want to look at is net yardage. How much are these guys returning the ball on them? Because the more of the focus is, negating returns. That's the biggest thing. And one of the things that really stood out is he pinned 22 kicks inside the 20-yard line. That's a big deal. That's a good number in just what he was doing. But he kicked his leg off in his second year at Rosemont. But when you come in, I don't necessarily think he would be like the number one guy. They have Connor Wesselman, won last year of eligibility there. But they do need a second punter. They don't have that on the roster. It's something Eric Link talked about this spring that they were going to get in the second window. And they hosted John Butcher. I mean, I'm not telling you he's going to commit, but he was on a visit. They had two guys visiting on Wednesday. It was DeMonte Timms and John Butcher.
So it's Butcher. It's not Butcher.
When I was sent it was not sent a pronunciation guide. I did look up a video of him talking about how he balances schoolwork and punting. So I was just trying to get to know him, and I think he said John Butcher.
Okay, because John the Butcher, like punter, seems just badass. Like I think that could grow into something, but if it's Butcher, I guess it doesn't really work. Yeah, I'm not even going to ask Payton about his special teams take because we'll be here for another 40 minutes talking about that. So we'll just let that sleeping dog lie. We'll see if Mizzou gets those guys. Plenty of movement still for football. Yeah, we'll talk more spring portal when that stuff emerges. Obviously, any other major updates from camp, the quarterback battle, all that stuff, as it kind of goes. But yeah, there's some hoops news, football news, and we will finish the rest of the show, boys, with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. We'll finish out the show. We've got jerseys of the week. Kenny, you have a Seattle Mariners legend as your jersey of the week. Why don't you talk about him?
Yeah, we're not going to spend as much time that we just spent the last 15 minutes trying to figure out if he did sign with the Mariners or not. But Austin Morozes is going to continue his professional career with the Chicago Dogs, independent league team up in Illinois. This is the weird part. There was one tweet back in 2022, July, saying that he signed a UDFA deal with the Seattle Mariners, and then he was never mentioned again with the Mariners. It's not on his MLB account. It's not on his Baseball Reference anywhere. I don't know what happened. I assume he got to spring training, or not spring training, got down to the Arizona complex and just never made it past there, never made it into a game. But usually some of these websites will still say he was there. But he spent the 2022 season with Missouri, his only year with the Tigers. He had a 8.52 ERA in 12 games, 9 starts, 41 and a third innings that year, 33 strikeouts. Numbers just weren't there, but Joe Doyle, who's a big draft analyst, said it was 6'8" UDFA, 96 miles per hour with sink and a quality fading changeup. So fringy command is really the reason that he got kind of bumped. But Austin Morozes continuing his professional career with the Chicago Dogs.
Man, I love these obscure Missouri pitchers from kind of the late years of Beezer. Man, can you guys think of any others? I think I've got one, but I'll
just not a segment I need to participate in.
Yeah, we'll get to it later. There's actually there's one
we'll
later.
bring it up later. I'll bring it up later.
Okay. Payton, your jersey of the week.
My jersey of the week is going to be Harrison Mevis. We talked about this last week. He was a Birmingham Stallion. UFL football is back, and Harrison Mevis made a 53-yarder. He still looks like the thicker kicker. He's wearing 18, by the way.
Oh,
that is a nuts number.
Vile.
But yeah, Harrison Mevis still kicking.
Still kicking. Top reply, you're going to see a lot of this. They know. They're well aware. Yeah, back-to-back champions, the Stallions, according to their X.com.
Back to back. 3
Oh my
bags.
God, back to back to back.
And I don't know if that would be. I don't think that's according to. I think they actually just won 3 championships.
No, it's according to, some people claim different ones. It's like old college football championships. Anyway, my jersey of the week is going to go to Tamar Bates and Caleb Grill. The pair of them will be playing in the Reese's NABC Division I College All-Star Game, which takes place at the Final Four in the Alamo Dome. If you remember, Sean East was a member of this game, played in it last year in Phoenix. So Bates and Grill teaming up one more time. Grill, I believe, is also doing the 3-point contest, Peyton.
Don't spoil. Quick hits later. But
I forgot
no,
we're double dipping.
Yeah, there is there's a cool video out there of Dennis surprising Tamar Bates down in San Antonio at the Final Four. It's a sweet video. Good for these guys. They get to just team up one more time.
Yeah.
3:30 CBS Sports Network. If you guys remember last year, Mizzou's a lone guy who has his own segment with us. I think he should come on and do that one day.
Captain. He's the main bird.
Thank you, Sean. He led the game in high fives. I don't know if you remember that. That was like the big thing. He led the game in high fives.
That was a thing. I watched that in person. God, I wish I could go to the Final Four.
I like
anyway,
he's the main bird.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Main bird of the week. Kenny, main bird of the week.
This felt, just right for Lance Lynn. He announced his retirement after 13 seasons, and he did it on April Fool's Day. Cubs legend. I think that's what people are going to remember Lance the most for. But he announced it on his wife's podcast, and I think this is probably where we are kind of going in the world. It does give you a boost just in terms of social media presence too, when you do these kind of things, no matter if it's your wife, spouse, whoever it is, someone you're close with, but on the diamond in the rough on Tuesday morning. But I'm just going to shout him out. The Bird Connection, of course, was the Cardinals, and there might be some overlap between our listeners that were Cardinals fans that liked Lance, and he was on those World Series teams earlier in the 2010s.
Yep. Goodbye. Bye, Lance Lynn. Bye.
I would like to announce my retirement
Lance,
on this podcast.
Bye.
I'm not retiring from anything in particular. I'm just retiring. I would like to announce it. Peyton, main bird.
My main bird of the
Congrats,
week
Lance
is
Lynn.
going to be Aiden Shaw. Aiden Shaw quickly found a new home. He's staying at the high major level. He's going to Boston College. Good for Aiden Shaw. I'm happy for him. Boston College wasn't great last year, so he should hopefully see a pretty big bump in playing time. Also, his sister, if I'm not mistaken, is going to college up there as well. She plays for Harvard. So that's really cool for them in the same city. They'll get to, pretty much Chestnut Hill, whatever. Same difference.
Beat me to it. I was about to say it.
Yeah, Chestnut Hill is basically Boston. It's got Boston College and is the name of the place. So cool for them. Good for Aiden Shaw. I really do hope it works out there for him.
Yeah. I'm very happy for Aiden Shaw. I mean, great kid. He was a good. It sucks it didn't work out as much as it could have potentially with Mizzou, but I'm just happy he landed somewhere, landed at the high major level. We'll see how he does with BC. Could be a fun thing. And yeah, his connection with his sister, that's cool that they get to be close. I know that family is very close. So that's great. My main bird of the week.
Dude, what? I just thought of my random pitcher from the end of the Steve Beazer era, Trey Robertson.
Oh, wow, that's so funny you say that, Peyton, because that's my main bird of the week this week. Of course, Trey Robertson, baseball knower Jack here, of course, of Mizzou, pitched 54.1 innings from 2019 to 2022 at Mizzou. A local kid, he went to Hickman. I know that fact as well. He is signed, here's your bird connection, with the Northern Colorado Owls with a Z. An independent baseball league team, NOCO Owls, as it says on their logo, which is pretty cool. Do they play the Chicago Dogs? Will this be a matchup? Could these two pitchers potentially match up in the independent, or are they in different independent leagues?
I would assume these are different.
Where is this?
Yeah, I don't know. Is NOCO like Northern Colorado or something?
I'm not gonna lie. When I was first,
they don't play each other.
Definitely not. Okay. That's the Pioneer League. I don't think the Chicago Dogs are in the Pioneer League.
Okay. Well,
Trey Robertson, former Cape Cod League guy, by the way, pitched for Hyannis.
Good connection. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was sent this, and I
Harper
thought
Hawk.
at first it was Northern Colorado University, and I got confused.
I will say too, like he played at Kansas State. Like that's probably the more recent photo, but they went with the Mizzou one, which I found pretty funny. He's a Hickman grad. He's a Como kid.
Yeah, congrats or best of luck with the Owls with a Z. I like their logo too. I would get that on a hat. The Owls. Best things you learned this week.
Best thing I learned this week, Knowlton alluded to it earlier. Caleb Grill is down at the the E-Trade 3-point championship down at the Final Four. He's competing in it as we record. Knowlton mentioned he hit like a half-court shot or something. So, again, cool to see Caleb Grill get to shine on the national stage one more time. Tough end of the year for him, so hopefully can kind of just get some of that luster back going into the draft season.
The ball's on fire in that photo.
Oh, it sure is.
How do you do
Don't
that?
hang on to it for too
How do
long.
you do that? The half court shot's pretty fun. The guy talking, it's like one of the broadcasters, and he's like stepping up and he just goes, "Watch out for Caleb Grill," and then he drills it. So everyone go watch that. Kenny, I think, is pulling it up on our favorable. There it is. Yeah, wait for it. Bang. Caleb Grill. Good podcasting. Kenny, what did you learn this week?
Best thing I learned this week. I think this is the last one, Peyton. I think you only have 4 assistant coaches, but this is the 4th one for Kelly Harper. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peyton. I thought I read that somewhere that we should only do 4, but this is Todd Schaefer coming in as the 4th assistant under Harper. Veteran of the game, 29 years of experience, 8 years at Arkansas. So he's been around the block and he spent a good time in women's basketball, and he's going to come in as the 4th assistant for Harper.
I believe 4 is the correct number. I don't believe they do like 5 or anything like that. I'm checking like a previous year to just be 100% sure. Yeah. So at the Pynchton, like the year I covered it, didn't even have 4. She had 3 and then like a support staff. So 4, I would assume, is the number she'll go with. Pretty quick turnaround there. So now I'm sure we'll see more movement in the portal as things get settled.
You can always special assistant to the head coach your way around that rule. I feel like there's always somehow
support staff them,
manage that. Yeah. I'm excited for the Kelly Harper era. I'm really excited to get into some, if they start doing the transfer portal and like who she acquires and builds this roster in year 1 here. Cause go watch our episode with Mari. That's where we talked a bunch about her when she was still a candidate. And glad one of our candidates, that would have been kind of bad if they somehow hired someone we didn't talk about in that video, because it was we went through them all, so that was good. But Kelly Harper was one of our main ones. I'm excited for that era to begin. My best thing I learned. I'm ending on a completely Mizzou related note here. I know we were talking about this today. This is out of a little bit out of left field, but the world of sports horror movies. I'm not sure how many there are, but I saw this on X.com, the Everything app. It all happens on X. Discussing Film. It's a good movie account if you don't follow it. They're making a movie, guys. It's called Him. It is I'll just read what Discussing Film has written about it. It is a new horror movie that follows a college quarterback who has the chance to train with his idol. His idol takes him to a sinister world to see what he's willing to sacrifice for fame. Produced by Jordan Peele. Heard some, there's some good movies he's made. I was curious y'all's thoughts on a sports horror movie, because I don't know if there are any like that. I'm not a big movie buff, and I'm also not a big horror movie buff. I'm the most squeamish person there is, but I'm kind of intrigued to watch this, especially because is it just a documentary about Browns quarterbacks, or I don't know, what they're doing, but I'm looking forward to this. I thought this was kind of interesting, so I threw it on my best thing I learned.
I'm interested to see it, honestly. It's a unique plot. College quarterback getting to train with his idol. Yeah, I'll probably at least give it a chance. I know Kenny's a big horror movie guy as well, so.
Yeah, you joke, but yeah, I kind of am more now. Recently, kind of fixed me. I love it.
All right, I'm not sure what's going on right now.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, but it's, any Jordan Peele movie is good. So if he's going to spin sports on it, I think this can be a good one.
So the I'm looking at just the Wikipedia about it. The retired quarterback who he's working with is Marlon Wayans, played by Marlon Wayans. Julia Fox is in this movie. And the quarterback's name is Benny Mathis. So it is not oh my God, I had the name in my head. I was going to say the kid from Draft Day, and his name just totally went out of my brain right before I said it. Who's the
Man,
It's not Bo Callahan. I thought that would have been a funny callback, but it's not about Bo Callahan and how he got good at football. Love the cover art too, by the way, with the football with the blood on it. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, September 19th, no free ads, but I'm looking forward to that one. I'll probably go see that and see what it's all about. All right, that's all I had. Peyton, do you have a joke?
I do. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show, as I actually click close on an Al Roker ad. Guys,
An Al Roker ad.
there was like an ad of Al Roker like lifting handheld weights. Guys, where did the cat go after losing its tail?
It went to the tail store.
The Taylor. Boom.
That's a good
Give
one.
me it.
That is a good
That's
one.
not the answer, actually.
Wow.
It's the retail store.
No, I like Taylor. Once again, Kenny out jokes the joke. I like Taylor better.
See, that's a good answer, Kenny, but I actually will side with Al on this one. I will
right.
side with Al on the Today Show because you're retailing the cat. So your
split decision.
retail works a little better than Taylor.
And you work in retail, so that
You do.
like,
I do
that-
currently, yes.
You probably knew that one too before you read it. You and
I did
Al
not know
in
that one, no.
cahoots. I watched the Today Show this morning. Al Roker was very excited that Kevin Bacon was on. They did a little interview with the Baconator.
Baconator. No free ads again. All right. That'll do for the unwritten rule. More transfer portal names, I'm sure, in due course. But enjoy. Maybe Jayden Quaintance will commit. Who knows? No intel. #no intel. All right. See you later. Bye.